We're at the airport. There's Ken and the little guy. So we're waiting for the lounge to open. It's 5:20. Kind of hungry. Flight leaves in about an hour and a half. We, like I said, are gonna try to get something to eat in the lounge. And yeah, Ken's gonna board last, just so less time for Hudson in the seat. We spent a good part of our morning at the Plaza Premium Lounge before our flight, thanks to some lounge passes. And Hudson was free. Hudson is here, chilling, watching a show, eating some breakfast. You liking that, buddy? Ken's over there just getting some food. The lounge had everything we needed. Full breakfast, changing rooms, comfortable chairs, and if you're here during the day, a view of the tarmac and planes taking off. It's pretty sweet. You want more mini pancakes, buddy? He loves the mini pancakes. We've been lucky enough to have traveled with Hudson a couple times. Tip if you're traveling with a newborn or toddler for the first time, feed during takeoff as it can turn into a nap. After some research, we learned some of the well-known rental companies may not include the cost of insurance in the total price. Also, rental companies charge an additional airport tax. So we found a great rental company just a couple minutes away. They also coordinated pickup. It was relatively easy to work with them. We'll put a link to their Google page in the description below. So they offered us a nice sedan for the trip, and it got the job done. But if I were to come back though, I would probably go with a mini or full SUV. I'll explain why a little later. First part of our day in Mexico, we drove from Cancun to Playa del Carmen. The drive took us about 45 minutes, but depending on the time of day and when you arrive, it could take up to an hour. We stopped for some groceries at the local Walmart and also grabbed some grub before the sun went down. Hudson got lots of rest to say the least. We decided to eat dinner at this restaurant called La Cueva del Chango. They were known for their enchiladas. It was a quaint spot, just 5 minutes away from the beach. There's so many restaurants you can choose from in Playa del Carmen. We learned it's where many of the cruise ships stop and also an excursion for many of the all-inclusives in the area. Many of the restaurants in Mexico had the I'm sort of inside but I'm partly outside because the weather's nice type of vibe. All the servers, hostesses, everyone was so polite. For the most part, there are English menus, especially in tourist areas, but we recommend getting Google Lens on your mobile phone and using the translate feature. We got some drinks, obligatory guac, tacos, and enchiladas for dinner.
Oh, thank you.
Hudson thoroughly enjoyed all the new animals he was seeing and hearing. It was the cutest thing. So parking in tourist areas was a little involved. Paid parking was sometimes confusing, mainly because we didn't understand the parking meters. And in some areas, prices were really jacked up, so keep that in mind if you decide to drive. We drove another 50 minutes to an hour from Playa del Carmen to Tulum. The drive for the most part was smooth, but remember when I said I would rather have an SUV in Mexico? Turns out there's still a ton of development in the area, especially in Tulum, so it's pothole galore. Take extra caution if you do decide to drive a compact or a sedan to Tulum. We stayed at an Airbnb, but the property was called Aruña. If you're looking to visit Tulum, you'll notice it's fairly economical when it comes to accommodations. The grounds had a common pool at about 4 feet at the deepest part. There was a waiting area where Hudson could splash around. There also wasn't too many units, so it never felt crowded at all. There's probably only a handful of times where we actually shared the pool with other guests. So as you can see, we opted in for a rooftop suite, so it was 3 flights of stairs whenever we came and left. We'll show you why we chose this unit a little later. These stairs honestly gave us the physical exercise we've been lacking. And this is me hunting for the instructions to get into our suite. And there it is. One of the selling points for this Airbnb was the sheer size. It was a 1-bedroom with 2 washrooms, and if I can recall, it mentioned this was almost, if not more, than 1,000 square feet. So here comes the room tour. The unit was open concept and it welcomed you with its living/family area. The foyer was pretty big, so it was always easy to unload whenever we got in. As mentioned, we did have 2 washrooms, which was very convenient. The kitchen had a great island, which was key because it didn't have much storage space for our groceries, snacks, and water. There was also a nice dining table where we ate our breakfast and dinners. Now the bedroom had a king-size bed, and there was definitely enough room to set up Hudson's sleeping area. There was also a nice big floor-to-ceiling windows that you can open up. The ensuite had a stand-up shower and was relatively clean, and definitely had enough space for both Ken and I. It was great.
Buddy, you like our new house? You like our home for the week?
Hudson always loves exploring new places. He had a blast. So, now to show you the other selling point of the Airbnb. The 3 floors were worth it because we also had a private rooftop with a plunge pool. It was great after a long day of doing touristy things, and the plunge pool was a good way to cool off. This was definitely a bonus, and Hudson loved it as well. The floor-to-ceiling sliding windows was great because it let in fresh air throughout the unit. Tulum Beach is about a 10 to 15 minute drive from central Tulum, also known as Tulum Central. The strip is littered with beach clubs, some of the best restaurants in the area, and shopping. It's a fairly narrow road with many of the beach clubs facing the shore. You'll likely encounter many people just walking, biking, on ATVs and mopeds. On one of the days, we decided to spend a full day at one of the beach clubs called La Zebra. It was one of the more reputable beach clubs in the area. Fair warning, be ready to spend if you're in Beach Town. Many of the beach clubs have a minimum spend, which is consumable. The fees will typically give you a shaded cabana for the day, a server, access to the beach, as well as the beach club's amenities. Beach clubs are also hotels, so you'll likely be spending some time around the hotel guests. Alternatively, many of the beach clubs are also restaurants, so you can opt in to just eat at one of the many in the area. As I mentioned earlier, you get all-day access to one of these cabanas with the minimum spend. They were also fairly private, which was great. Hudson was honestly living his best life. Hudson was reluctant to get into the sand and water at first, but once he broke that seal, we honestly couldn't get him out. La Zebra had amazing food. Now, we didn't have too much to drink, so we ate as many things on the menu to meet our spend. To end our day, we had some gelato from one of the gelato chains in the area. Before heading home, we took a stroll in Tulum Central, which is pretty much the main strip in Tulum, where you can get souvenirs, grab a drink, or eat at one of the many restaurants. We opted to have dinner at this local spot called Taqueria La Chapaneca. A ton of YouTube travelers highly recommended this place, and they did not disappoint. It was also very economical. because one thing about the food in Tulum is that it can get pretty pricey, believe it or not. So finding a cheap local joint was fantastic. It's Friday. We are going to be tourists today. See one of the wonders of the world. We're going to go have about 2 hours out of here and go to Chichen Itza. Pretty sure that's how you say it, but again, we'll figure it out. Let's turn this way. The drive to Chichen Itza was a little over 2 hours. We took a little stop to stretch our legs about halfway through. On the way, you really get to see many of the small towns in between the tourist areas, which was a cool experience. When you get to Chichen Itza, be aware of the entrance fees, as well as the taxes on top of the entrance fees that are paid separately when you enter. Off the bat, you will see a ton of vendors selling souvenirs and handcrafted goods. Try not to get tempted right away and shop around first before making a purchase. Because, did I mention there are a lot of vendors? One thing to keep in mind when visiting is that it's scorching hot. Carry lots of water and look out for shade. Despite that, it was a real experience being able to see one of the wonders of the world with Hudson. On our way back, we stopped by the local town Valladolid. It's known for its colonial architecture dating all the way back to the 1400s. We stopped for some lunch and we highly recommend making the visit. We spent a couple more days taking in tourist attractions, more beaches, and exploring places to eat near our Airbnb. Before we knew it, we had to go back. And of course, Hudson couldn't get on that plane without hitting the lounge once again. All in all, we loved our time in Tulum. It was an awesome, quick getaway for a week. We found it's far enough to feel like a vacation, but not too far that it's a challenge to get to and from. Would we come back? Very, very likely.